I'll have to read it.
Back memories. Okay. I gotta bring.
We have Danielle Markman on. Danielle's gonna be about 15 minutes late, so I think we should skip to
Yep.
number 2.
Yep, we'll take them out of order.
Yep,
All right, first, we're gonna open the meeting.
yep, go
All
ahead.
right. First thing I want to say is, once again, I want to say thank you to all the Board of Health team members and all our associates like Danielle and Dan and soon to be Colleen for everything that you guys do on a daily basis.
And we thank you for being our leader.
That's right. All right, I'll buy you coffee later. So we're gonna skip over agenda item 1 and we're gonna go right to agenda item 2. We're gonna talk with Daniel Markman. Dan, how are the inspections, food establishment inspections going?
Right now, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we
Yep.
can.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
Right now they're going fairly well. We're pretty much caught up. The only trouble is that there are quite a few establishments in town that are like they're only open outside of our typical hours. So we haven't been able to get to some of them, and we're kind of hoping that once there's a part-time health agent, that particular gap will be addressed. But other than that, doing fairly well.
Okay, are you finding any reoccurring issues that we should be aware of?
In what respect?
Well, I met with you a number of weeks ago. You were on an inspection that was a little troublesome. And the board reviewed, I believe, 3 different inspections. We went back a year. And we saw some, reoccurring issues that obviously were taking a while for the food establishment to resolve.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering if you're finding that in other establishments?
Not all, but that does happen in some establishments. I can't speak for what Danielle has been able to find, but
Okay,
in a few of the larger full service restaurants, there are a few violations that recur. Some
Okay.
are fairly minor, so them recurring is not a big deal, but in the case of the restaurant, the inspection from a few weeks prior, the violations that I found that were recurring were quite serious, that necessitated discarding a significant amount of product.
Okay.
So that is a little worrisome.
And how did the re-inspection go? I can't remember if it was you or Danielle that did the re-inspection.
The most recent reinspection was done on the 16th of June, and unfortunately, since then, I haven't, neither Danielle nor I have had the opportunity to go there.
Okay.
I had one scheduled for Tuesday of this week, but I was out sick that day, so I wasn't able to get to them.
Okay.
So at the time of the reinspection, some of the violations had been corrected, but one of their units was still temping incorrectly, and they were just anticipating getting a repair.
Okay. All
Um,
right. Well, we're hopefully going to bring our health agent on as fast as we can, so that we can take the load off of you and Danielle. I mean, we really appreciate everything that you guys have been doing. But we're hoping to get this person onboarded ASAP. And we'll come up with some kind of a plan for her to introduce herself to the local establishments that she will be inspecting in the future.
right. I'm looking forward to it. I've worked with Colleen in the past, so I know she is reliable and professional. in the
Well, that-
extreme.
We're glad to hear that. And just the fact that you guys, or gals and guys are gonna have, some familiarity with each other will, just enhance the lines of communication. So I'm glad to hear that. Fellow board members, does anybody have any questions, or remarks for Daniel?
No, but thank you for doing a good job. Hopefully you won't have to do, you won't have to do it again with our new person, but thanks.
Yeah, I echo what Joyce says, Dan. Thank you very much for your efforts and, making sure that the establishments out there are doing what they're supposed to do. It brings up a conversation I think we were having on this topic the last time with regard to the repetition or the rate of repetition of some of these violations and whether or not we as a local board wanted to modify or enhance what is currently in place. I don't know. Really hadn't really talked beyond that initial discussion, so I don't know what your thoughts might be.
My thoughts are that we should wait till Colleen gets into,
It's a good point.
into the
Into the role.
office, into the truck.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's a good word.
Into the
role.
trenches.
Yeah.
And then
right.
do what we need
And
to.
then discuss
go
it
from
with
there.
her, so that that's not part of
I
their
like that. Yeah.
genre, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you again, Dan. We really appreciate you, shouldering the burden along with your associate. And we will get our, part-time, health agent on board ASAP.
Thank you very much for all of your assistance.
All right.
Have a good night, Dan.
Have a good night.
I see Danielle is on now.
Danielle is online.
All right, so at this time, we'll go back to agenda item number 1. We're gonna bring on Danielle Edmonds, our animal inspector. Any updates, comments, things we can do to help you, Danielle?
Hi, board. No, I think it's more so kind of like changing how mail is like delivered to the office, because sometimes if Jack is super busy, we're late getting the notices. I don't know if there's any way that those notices can get like sent directly to the office, but other than that, really no complaints. I'm able to follow up on bite reports pretty good. Sometimes it's difficult coordinating with the owner of the animal to try to get in to see the animal. So I'm a little bit later releasing the animal if it's just a regular 10-day quarantine. But other than that, I'd say it's gone pretty smoothly. And again, just wanted to ask the board if they are looking at permitting of animals, just so it's easier for myself to keep track of who has what in town.
So would you explain, this is Joyce, Danielle. Would you explain to me what you mean with animals and permitting? What you think? I mean, like dog licenses and cat licenses, or what are you talking?
So pretty much, again, it's every town does it a little differently. Some towns charge, other towns do not. It's more so just reporting what you have. So it's easier for me to report back to MDR as to like the population of animals kept in Mendon. Like I know some towns, like for Northbridge and Uxbridge, for example, they do have animal regulations. So that animal permitting kind of goes along with those regulations. Like you have to have so many acres to keep these, animals. But at the moment, as you're well aware, Mendon does not have any animal regulations. So really all I'm asking is residents that do have animals, register them with the town so the animal inspector can do those barn inspections, can do more of those barn inspections, because right now, the animal inspector before myself, Max, I believe his name was, he just had to drive around town and figure out who has what. And that's kind of what I did last year and what I probably will have to do this year. But again, people aren't so keen to register them if it's not required. We're not saying, you have to do this in order to keep the animals, but it's nice to just know where is, who has what in town so I can report accurately back to MDR.
So you're talking like, horses and cows and pigs and chickens and
And any farm animals, any farm
farm
animals.
animals. Okay, all right.
Yep.
That's what I was wondering,
Okay.
All right, Danielle, I reached out to Max over the last week, and I was very fortunate that I happened to catch him. And I asked him a couple of questions. And he told me, other than what you've done, as far as try to drive around and see what you see that isn't already listed in the bond book. He also went to a couple of the local feed stores. He mentioned Feeds and Needs. He mentioned the Saddle Shed in Uxbridge. And he was able to attain their customer lists for people that lived in Mendon that were buying feed.
Yep.
And he said he found that helpful in finding some of the backyard farm animals that wouldn't be part of the inventory that you're looking for.
Mhm.
So I thought that was helpful, although I didn't know how time consuming that would be. He also,
Very.
go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, no, it could be very time consuming. Um, but I'll do what needs to be done, and maybe in the future, if the board could just look into requesting that residents register their animals. Again, not saying, you know, you can't have animals, just, hey, I live at whatever street, I have 3 horses, boom. Because the purpose of the animal inspector is to make sure that the animals kept in town are healthy, free of diseases, and God forbid, if a natural disaster were to happen and the state comes in, they kind of know where to go and who has what, so it's easier to get those animals out of there. That's the
Well,
whole purpose of the animal and, inspector
right.
with the barn
It
inspection.
also, I'm sorry.
No, go
It
ahead.
also allows someone like yourself in the position of animal inspector to offer help and assistance if someone were to be having a difficulty or something could be going on in someone's chicken coop that they're not even aware of, that your trained eyes are going to see and be able to head off a problem.
Yes, yeah, we're educated in basic animal, husbandry and such. So we definitely are a source of educating the townsfolk as well.
Well, maybe we can reach out to the ag committee and see if the ag committee could generate some sort of I'll call it an inventory for now.
How about, what is the guy that's the animal control officer? What does he do? Does he know anything about that? Could he be a help to you as well?
Mm,
You know,
Um,
I can't think of what his name is, but
Kevin Sullivan.
Sullivan, yeah.
maybe he's more so, we really only have like any type of communication if there's like an animal bite or like possible rabies exposure. So in terms of like farm animals, we really don't intermingle too much.
So how would you want us to go about it?
Well, what the chairman pretty much suggested, I guess, is what we can do at this point. Because obviously you don't require registration of the animals, and we don't have any animal regs right now. So I guess that's the best that we can do.
But we could, your point is well taken, that we would generate some bylaws of sort. I guess it would be called sort of bylaws, right? Yeah, what is it? No? Hello?
Regs.
Well,
It would be
regulations.
Regulations, yeah, so that with your help, that we could generate some of those, right?
Yeah, and Dan as well. He's fantastic. He's helped a lot of the other towns in the collab kind of generate the regs that, and again, it's it can be adjusted for each town. So Dan's very skilled with that.
Good. Think about how to go about it with everybody.
I'm
working.
wondering, and I don't know how appropriate this is, so I'm reaching. But every year we fill out a town census. And the dog licenses
Yeah,
go through the census. I don't know, again, how appropriate it is, or if it's even possible. Maybe we could talk with the town clerk, and maybe there is something that could be added to the town census. Again, just to get an inventory
right,
of the animals that are out there, purely voluntary. And anybody that were to provide that information, and especially at this time, it's purely to help them and or their animals
right,
in a situation like Danielle mentioned,
Right.
especially a natural disaster.
right.
I mean, if you look at what's going on up in Vermont, I'm sure there's a lot of farm animals up there. If an inventory is available, it could help save lives,
Yeah, I would
Prevent-
agree.
disease.
Right.
I kind of concur with you, Danielle, though, I think we are coming from on the viewpoint of, at minimum, having some sort of registration. Because just as you point out, the reasoning behind just informational for her as an inspector to know where all these animals are. And again, you call it voluntary, yes, but there's
At some
more.
point, it's going to have to be mandatory,
Right,
but yeah,
I
just
guess
to
what
get
I'm,
it started.
what I'm viewing, what I'm thinking about in my head is we gotta start somewhere to
Right.
come up with an inventory.
Yeah.
And then as we see how it goes, how it progresses, how the information that we're given versus the information that we're missing, we would adjust accordingly. Now, I remember years and years ago when I had some sheep and some pigs, long before I really knew what I was doing. I used to get something from the United States, Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
I used to get something, and I don't know how they found me, so to speak.
Right,
I'm going back 35 years ago, maybe. And I used to fill it out. Yeah, I've got 4 sheep. I've got 2 pigs. I don't know if it was because at that time I was using Tufts out of Grafton for a veterinary service to
Maybe.
see my animals. But I was, every couple of years I would get a census, so to speak.
I could also see the need from a standpoint of the basis of potential disease.
Yeah,
Control or tracking a potential disease that may afflict, farm animals in the
Well,
community.
we had
right?
that situation not that long ago when we were trying to do Menden Fest in
Yep.
August.
Yep.
And we had that horse contract triple E.
Yep.
And don't quote me on this, but I believe that that particular horse and residents was sort of off the grid.
Yes,
Okay, so
Correct.
it wasn't until this horse became ill that anybody was even aware that there was a horse there. And unfortunately, I don't think the horse made it.
that's correct.
And of course, it kind of threw a wrench in the works for what was going on in the town at the time, because of the death.
right,
I mean, I like to think, that it is a right to farm community. And I like to think the people that are involved in the agricultural aspects with farm type animals would understand the reasoning for at minimum a registration element. I get where they might get concerned or have issues if we start to do a quote unquote regulation element around it. Just from the standpoint of knowing where they are
right.
and what they have,
Ellen-
it's gonna
Ellen-
make her job that much more easier. It's gonna be much more efficient
Oh, absolutely.
from a data collection standpoint.
Right.
So.
Ellen Gould would probably be a good resource for that.
Yeah, I'm
Because
thinking,
What is their,
I'm thinking
Name
both
it there.
ag committee.
Yeah.
And reach out to the town clerk's office and see which or what combination of both might be able to generate at this time, I'll call it an
A
inventory,
number, yeah, right,
you know, an inventory of animals.
right.
So many chickens at this address, you know, whatever. Because I know the census already, I believe, tracks at least dogs, if not
Right,
cats.
Yeah,
It does dogs, yep.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean, it doesn't catch the dogs that are unlicensed. But I'm sure most people have their dogs licensed because of rabies, et cetera, and it's a very minimal fee. So Danielle, at this time, do you think that would be a good direction to head in?
I think so. It's definitely a step in the right direction. Um, and like I said, further down the line, making regulations, making it mandatory will just make it easier for me as the animal inspector now, and the animal inspector in the future when I'm done with this position. And it is, from what I've found working in local government for almost 5 years, unless it is mandatory and there is consequences if you don't do it, people really won't do it. So just keep that in mind.
I agree. I agree with that.
I hear you.
Okay, so in the meantime, in your travels with the many hats that you wear, Max's suggestion was feeds and needs in Mendon, Saddle Shed in Uxbridge. And I mentioned maybe Koopman's in Uxbridge. If they were willing to share a customer list of people in Mendon that are buying feed, that may give you some information. And then on the Board of Health side, we'll reach out to the town clerk and the ag committee. And, as always, our goal is to try to keep bending that needle as close to getting it right as possible. So, maybe, what we're talking about right now, based on what you're telling us, would be a good first step.
I would agree.
Anything else that we can do to help you?
I'm thinking from the Board of Health side too. I know I'm like mainly here to represent the animal inspector. I know I came on after Dan left. Um, but definitely looking into hiring. Sorry if you hear goats in the background, it's my boys. Um, if hiring a part-time health inspector, I think would definitely help us get all the food establishments done, because there are some food establishments that are their normal hours, they're open kind of outside our normal working hours, so we kind of have to adjust severely in order to accommodate. So if you were to have your own dedicated inspector, that would help. And then also pop-up events and stuff, that would be easier to get them done with a part-time inspector.
Okay, obviously you came in a few minutes late, so you missed our discussion with Daniel. But we have hired a part-time health agent, and we are bringing her on ASAP. So again, we're bending the needle as close to getting it right as possible. We do have a new HR person that just started, I believe, on Monday. So the onboarding process is gonna take a little bit, but we're making great progress. And Daniel said that he's already worked with Colleen Straponi. So you may have already worked with her also, so that'll just enhance the communication between the three of you.
Oh yes, yeah, that's awesome. Congrats. She is nothing but an asset. So you and the town is very, very lucky to have her on board.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to shifting the workload and, still working with you and Daniel.
As am I. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. We'll keep you in the loop, and, please reach out to the board at any time for anything that we can do to help you do your job. We appreciate and value your, you're a valuable member of the team.
Thank you so much, Chairman.
Before we let Danielle go, I do want to bring up, an unanticipated within 48 hours. And Northbridge Road regarding their septic that Danielle has inspected.
Yes,
We have sent a certified letter out to the resident of the septic that's in failure. And to this date, we have not received any word from him at all in response.
okay, so we know we received it.
He did not receive it. He left, it was certified mail. He has not picked it up.
He has not picked it up. Okay. Now,
And
Danielle,
just to add to that, so I did an initial housing inspection, at 10 Northbridge Street. And, that was the biggest issue, the failing septic. And then we did another inspection with Steve Donatelli, and he immediately said it's in full failure. And this needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. So it is a big issue. And the fact that we haven't heard from the property owner is concerning.
They are living in the house though?
yes, the
Yes.
homeowner lives on the first floor.
Uh-huh,
It's a ranch style house. And to my understanding, the tenant lives downstairs.
Yes.
so is this Danielle, do you think this is a knock on the door thing, but with the letter with like a policeman delivering it? You know?
Yeah, whatever gets his attention,
Right.
because our office has no record of any pumping, has no plan. Steve was able to identify that it definitely was a cesspool, just because the age of the property. Um, Jack has requested records of pumping. He has sent nothing. And obviously he's ignoring our order letters. So anything that can grab his attention, because this is a public health issue. There's raw sewage pooling in his backyard at this point.
Correct. Yeah, I think that I would make the recommendation that we have a police officer deliver the letter,
Okay,
since he's not picking it up, and make sure that that gets to him. And then from then on, he's going to have to either, follow the directions and do it, get out of the house, whatever.
Well, how about a police officer with
a member of the board.
with a representative from the Board of Health going to the site? Because if you read this letter we submitted, he's already passed all the timelines that we've put through as conditions
Right.
by not responding. So now it's about enforcement. Now it's about taking the next step. He's basically, holding up his,
Well, I actually, when I said a policeman, I actually meant with the Board of Health.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Because again, back in the day.
Say that loud and proud. It's okay.
That's it. I had more than one of those things that I had to do.
Yeah.
One of them, which was really awful, was awful. And, it has to be done. I mean,
Okay, so at this time, the plan of action is to arrange a police escort
right,
with a Board of Health member.
Are we talking BOH member or is possibly Danielle still available to be included in the process as our enforcement officer?
Unless our new agent is
Right.
on board at the time.
I mean, I'm talking about wanting to take action tomorrow.
right.
That's what
Right.
I'm talking about. I'm talking about,
Danielle, what is your availability for the rest of the week?
Tomorrow I'm in Douglas. I have an appointment from 9 to 9:30, and then I have a to be determined appointment in the afternoon, probably closer to 2. But other than that, I am open.
Okay, but you're basically in Douglas, so there's some travel time involved there.
Yeah, it takes like what, 15 to 20 minutes to get to Mendon from Douglas, so yes.
Okay, so why don't you give me a time range that would be comfortable for you to take care of your commitment in the morning and your commitment in the afternoon? And we'll try to get an officer available sometime in the middle. Because I don't
Um,
want to jam you up.
Right, okay. Well, I'd say I'd rather get it done kind of, well, I don't know if the occupant will be at the home.
That's
That,
the other
too.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
That is,
so,
that is
Yeah,
the other
work.
problem.
Right.
It may be
he's retired.
something that has to be
Retired?
done. He's what?
Retired.
Retired.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
That still doesn't mean the gentleman will be home.
No, but the chances are better that he will be. Because he doesn't know we're coming.
Right. All right, so give me a time frame and let's see if we can make this work.
okay. Well, let's say tomorrow I can do anytime between, let's say, like 10:30 and 12, and then in the afternoon I could put you guys later, so anytime between 3 and 4:30.
Okay, let's try the 10:30 to 12 and we'll see if an officer is available. And we'll make sure that, obviously we have all the paperwork available. And we will reach out to you with your cell phone as soon as we know.
Great, sounds good.
And you're comfortable with that approach, Danielle? I just want to make sure you're comfortable with that.
Absolutely.
I knew you'd say that, but I just wanted to make sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I
like,
appreciate
I like it.
Didn't hear that clearly.
All right, so
I
what,
like that.
why don't we try that? I'm trying to think, my schedule might put me somewhere near that area and I could kind of scout it out and see if the gentleman's pickup truck is there. Kind of hedge our bets. I'm do my best.
Would you have in your possession, Danielle, a copy of that letter that we sent to them?
I don't, but I can swing by the office and retrieve a copy from Jack.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's in hand as well.
Right, and we can give a copy to the police officer also, so
Yeah.
that between the two of them,
Sure. Yeah.
there should be no problem
Right.
getting
Right.
one delivered.
Yep.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to scout it out and see what the lay of the land looks like. So that I can save Danielle a trip. If,
Not there.
I see no signs of life.
Right.
That could mean there's a worse problem.
Danielle, thank you. We'll try to make that work between 10:30 and 12 tomorrow.
Thank you, board. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Danielle. Have a good night.
You as well. Thanks again.
Yeah, I hate. It burns me
Mm-hmm.
when we put something forth like this
Right.
and we get zero response. I get, and probably I shouldn't, but I get angry.
Well, I mean,
Well, you look at that, I mean, that's putting his family at risk.
right,
So
the gentleman lives there, so obviously
is he
he,
alone?
I
He
don't,
has a roommate
okay.
and he has the tenant downstairs.
Oh, yeah, right.
That makes it even.
But what I mean is,
Now, where is it? Where am I?
going up, it's on the left, it's a ranch style house.
So we're going.
It's not
so-
too far up, it's like the third or fourth house on the left going
So,
up.
so like if I come out of Washington Street,
Then you'd have to go right.
okay,
And if you go right, it's probably 3, 4, 5 houses down on the right.
right, okay,
It's sort of in the middle of Washington and North
right, yeah,
along that strip.
yeah, okay, that's I thought it had to be, but,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
nothing, I have no knowledge of anything negative
right,
about this gentleman, so I'm a little surprised.
right,
Yeah, it's
But
not
if he's living
personal.
there, he's not an
It-
absentee landlord.
right,
the situation. That's
yeah.
not
has to be
personal. It
taken
has
care of,
nothing,
yeah,
Right.
right,
nothing to do with the people,
right,
good, bad, or indifferent. It's
right,
the situation.
But I mean, when you look at this, I mean, you'd think that he would have,
Right, so first thing tomorrow morning, bring up, our brothers that over, the other side of the parking lot there and see if they feel as though an officer would be available. And what time in that 10:30 to 12 range would work for them.
Okay,
We need 2 copies of the letter. One that we can hand off to the police officer. And one that we can get to Danielle. And if for some reason Danielle can't swing by because she is working in Douglas.
Yep.
At least the police officer would have a copy.
Yep.
Would they also need, the card that Jack has in his possession?
I don't have the card. All I got is the receipt of the certified letter.
Receipt of the letter.
Yeah, there's a little receipt when you do a certified letter.
Oh,
It's
that's
just what the
yeah.
post office gives back to you saying that you sent one out.
Oh, right, yeah.
So when he signs for it, he has to sign that card from the post office gives him
And
the
send it
envelope.
back to you.
And the
Right.
card comes back to us from the post office saying it has been received.
All right,
Would that information need to be in hand or some proof that we did what we did? So that, if he says, geez, I never,
All right, well, you have a copy of the card.
Yes, I do. Oh, a copy of the receipt, yes.
Right. So you can make. Is there a signature line on that?
Yes.
Okay, so you can make a copy of the copy
Okay, yeah.
for him to sign.
yeah, that would work.
Right.
Oh, that
If,
would work.
if the person wants to so do
Right.
that
Right.
at that point. But at this point, it's a matter of,
Well, if he
he didn't,
refuses to sign it, then maybe the police officer could note the recipient. I mean, I don't
Not
want
the
to,
letter.
I don't want to
you're not gonna. you
push it on
can't-
them,
You
but
can't force them to sign it.
what I'm saying is someone with authority,
Right.
police officer or
Right.
Danielle, could make a note on the copy of the receipt.
Refuse to sign.
The recipient refused to sign.
right,
Yeah.
But then beyond that,
but.
we
he's
still need
got
to
the
take
letter.
action.
He's got the letter,
Yeah.
Right.
so. yeah,
And it's witnessed.
Right.
Because it's a police officer and a
Right.
representative
Right.
from the board out.
Right,
Yep.
right.
So,
And then what's our, so he now has this letter in hand. So now what? Do the same allowances apply? Are we gonna modify because he hasn't responded to the initial letter?
Oh, he's gotta.
Or
come
are we
to
gonna
the- he's
make
gotta
him, are
come
we
to
gonna
the-
have him
Right,
follow
right,
the
I
exact
see
same?
what you're saying. Does the clock start over?
Clocks, are we starting the clock over? Does he get more time again? Or are we saying,
Well, he
hey,
only
your
had-
clock passed?
Yeah, he really, I mean.
The
these
clock's
inspe-
passed on all of the
what-
stuff.
These inspections were done a while ago.
I mean,
already.
the, says you are hereby ordered to have the system pumped in by a licensed septic hauler amended within 24 hours of receipt of this order.
Right, so,
So he
That
hasn't
24
formally
hours is long
confirmed
gone.
receipt of the order.
Right.
That 24 hours is long gone.
But
Required to
but he
begin
didn't- he
pumping
didn't
the
get- he
system
didn't
once
get
per month
this.
or more frequently.
he did supply
it's-
us who the pumper was, didn't he?
The name of it, but we get no records.
What was the name of the pumping company?
Grant.
Yes.
No,
Oh, okay.
Darling
That's right. It was Darling out of
Darling.
Uxbridge
Septic, that's not licensed in Mendon,
right now.
but Darling Wells is licensed. Well,
Right, right.
And then we also say, in addition, you are ordered to submit documentation to the board, such pumping within 36 hours of having the system pumped.
Okay,
So-
well, I think the first
But
step,
it's failed. It's a
Yeah.
failed system anyway. It's, then it
Right.
should be
Right.
determined that it's failed.
the first step is to try to get the letter
Right, yeah.
in
Start
his
with that,
hands. And then I would say after that,
We need to have him come to the
to a meeting. And I mean, it's a kind of a shame that that gives them 2 weeks. I mean, if we're successful tomorrow, it's very possible
Right.
that
Well,
we
but
might
it,
not
but
be
it, but
successful.
in the interim of those 2 weeks, we should give him, he should at least be doing this stuff.
Well, he should.
Between the time he gets the letter in hand
Right,
and the 2 weeks for the next meeting, we should have, this all stuff should be completed,
Well, I agree,
right? Okay, I just wanted to,
you know? But I mean, at that point, and maybe do we type something up to hand him that we're requesting him to appear? Give it to him at the same time?
I mean, you could, having 2 people there, you have a witness with an officer and Danielle, if that's what we wanted Danielle to say. we could put it on a letterhead in order to appear before the Board of Health at the next Board of
Well,
Health
that way,
meeting.
then you can discuss with them what needs to be
Yeah.
done.
Well,
In even though you've written it, it's written in here, but you have to say, you know, this is very serious.
right, but to
matter.
Tom's point, in 2 weeks, if he
Right.
appears,
Right,
because we'd like to be
Right.
helpful, we
Right.
want to help him get this situation under control.
right,
To Tom's point, action should be taken.
right. Before that even, yeah,
You know, he
Right.
shouldn't be waiting 2
Right. 2
weeks to
weeks,
come
right.
see us.
right,
I mean, at minimum, the tank needs to be pumped
right.
and he should have an arrangement to
With an
have it pumped
engineer and show us.
once a
that-
month.
Well, and he needs to have it fixed.
Right.
He needs to have it
So-
repaired.
When he appears in 2 weeks,
Right,
he should have a progress report for
Right.
us.
I mean, the other thing we have on here is moreover, you are ordered to contract with an engineering firm
right,
for the upgrade of the system within 10 days.
right,
That's long ago.
right.
Oh,
Yeah, everything, the
Yeah,
time
well, 'cause
limits
he
on
hasn't-
everything.
He
is
hasn't,
fortunate.
he hasn't even looked at
Right.
this. He hasn't seen this. So,
Right.
I mean, that's, you know, now the clock starts
Right.
from there. I would
He
say.
knows the tenant is unhappy with the situation because the tenant said that she is that the landlord is trying to evict her. So just because the letter isn't in hand, doesn't mean the gentleman doesn't know that
Right.
there's an issue.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
have
Oh,
we,
yeah,
out of
he- we've
curiosity,
got to
have
see
we
it.
had any conversations?
Danielle has had conversations with
The tenant.
the landlord
Now, how about the tenant?
and the
Since-
tenant as well, yes,
Since she had met, that was the one that had come in that day to,
correct.
so there have been conversations since then with the tenant?
I think the last time she had conversations when she did the housing inspection report.
Okay,
Yeah, so
That's-
unfortunately, there's more than one thing going
Correct,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's something going on outside,
correct.
and there's something going
Going
on
on
inside.
inside, right, yeah. I
Right.
see
And
that now too.
The
yeah.
landlord, the homeowner, is well aware if they're trying to take action to evict the tenant. And we've had our health agent and our engineer out there.
was this the same one with that woman, where it was a female that signed a handwritten letter?
The
Yes.
woman is the,
Yeah.
Okay.
is the,
It is the
Yeah.
same one?
Yes.
Okay,
So really, the only thing that hasn't been achieved is that certified letter.
and he hasn't done anything, right?
No,
Yeah,
and a lot not achieved.
Yeah.
I would say.
Hasn't done anything that the office is aware of.
right.
Oh, true, and you know, I guess if I want to, could there be a valid reason why he hasn't gone to the post office? Maybe he's been ill. Maybe he hasn't been able to get to the post office. Which actually goes to a discussion Jack and I were having earlier about the difference between certified mail versus priority
Priority mail.
one, priority mail. In a certified mail situation, the item is held at the post office and the card goes to the person, telling them you have something at the post office that you have to pick up. They go to the post office, they sign for it, they get it in hand.
Then you know that it is, they have.
Right. In priority mail, the item goes directly to the residence. You have no validation or signing, but it does go to the residents.
Right.
And I hadn't thought of this before when we were talking. Could there be, I was trying to think of the pros and cons between the two. In the case where if the person maybe is unable for some reason to get to the post office to get that item, that could have prevented them from getting that item. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. With priority mail, it would have been delivered to the house and they would have had it in hand. But yet we don't have anything signed. Earlier, I was thinking,
That's June 26th.
I'm just thinking about I'm just thinking about the differences between using priority mail and
Well, you could use both.
certified.
Why not do both?
You could, there you go.
Do
It
we
was
have a-
certified and priority.
Sorry, I'm speaking out of turn. Do we have a contact phone number for this gentleman?
I believe Danielle does, yes.
A phone call?
Did the office ring him up?
Yeah.
see if we can help. I mean, you know,
I'm sorry.
I'm thinking of, you know,
This is not a case where I'm thinking I want to help you. This is a case where you homeowner have to respond and take some action.
I mean, it's not that he doesn't know.
No.
If you look at the pictures. I mean,
well, yeah, he lives there again.
right, yeah.
He lives there. He's.
And I understand. And I get that. But,
And Danielle must have spoken to him already.
right, yeah,
because she was there.
Danielle did tell him on the phone that she would be writing up a report and sending him a copy.
Right.
so that could be something. We could maybe reach back to Danielle in the morning. Say, hey, do you want to try a phone call if she has a moment?
Well,
But,
we can do that stuff,
we could
right?
do it
There's no
ourselves
reason,
tomorrow morning.
you know, we can't say, hey,
This is true.
we've been trying to reach you. We sent you a certified letter. The letter has not been claimed. You've had a discussion with the health agent.
Oops, sorry.
The engineer has been out there. Have you made any progress
Right.
on this situation? And why haven't you picked up your mail?
If I had the phone number now, I'd call them now and do it live on the meeting,
Well,
but I don't have a number.
I can get it for you.
Can you?
there's no reason we can't.
Right? Can you sense my disturbance?
Oh, no, and I mean,
We just,
between the rain and the temperatures, I don't know how you can ignore what's going
Right,
on.
because it's
in
getting,
his
yeah, the
backyard.
rain has.
and I'm all for the concept of helping individuals, but it's like, help me help you,
Agreed.
meaning help me. You gotta give something to help you, that's all. Am I getting old and grumpy?
No, no. Well, I think what happens is the, the time lapse, because we meet every 2 weeks. If something doesn't get done right away,
Well,
it
it's
might
not,
not even get done in that 2 week window.
right, it's not that, it's,
You just keep revisiting the same thing.
right, from our perspective, yes, we meet, but we have the ability to stay in touch with the office and things don't go quite as planned. If we have to react quickly, we're pretty flexible in that
Absolutely.
regard, right? Hence the next, well, 2 topics down the list will be referencing that, but, so, you know, anyway, there's such a thing as accountability.
Well, it is disappointing that,
I don't want to belabor it, but
no, I get it.
yeah. Yeah,
Danielle said it's in the office. She doesn't have it on her.
Okay,
okay, that's fine. Yep. But maybe in the morning.
all right, so maybe the first plan of action is to see, because you can ring the police department up at 7 AM
Yeah,
and you're at work at 6:30. See what the availability of an officer in that time window is,
right.
so that you can,
That's 10:30 and 12.
right, so that you can reach out to Danielle and give her an idea what's going on, especially where she's working in Douglas. Then I would say, try to reach out to this gentleman. And, you know, Board of Health is wondering what progress has taken place. We realize, we're aware that you haven't claimed your certified letter, that all the time limits in that letter have lapsed. And you may not even get hold of them. And if you don't get hold of them for some reason, at least the police officer and Danielle have an idea what time they're gonna try to go to the residence and hand deliver the letter.
And I would say, if you don't get the individual, just leave a message at us. Please, this is the Board of Health calling, doing a follow-up. Please call, just so they. Yeah, that's all.
I mean, we could always take a field trip. It's not that
Yeah,
far.
no, it's not between 10:30 and 12. I should be awake and have my first cup of coffee by then.
Oh, no, I meant right now.
All right, oh, we
Can we,
could.
can we take
Oh,
the
right
meeting
now.
on the road?
Let's take it on the road. Technology, we're traveling. Roadshow, BOH
Alright.
roadshow. We
Um,
need a camera crew.
hopefully we can
Yeah,
make
get
some
this,
more
I hope
contacts
so.
with the
Right.
homeowner
Yeah.
and get this resolved.
let them
Yeah.
know that this is very serious.
It is. Yeah.
And, one way or the other, we'll put it on the agenda for our next meeting
Right,
that we'd like to see the gentleman come in. Because even if we do make contact, we're gonna want an update,
right.
Yes.
just,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
what the progress is on that property.
right.
So at minimum, it sounds like, if the visit does happen, I think it should happen anyway.
Right,
We may want to have a letter drawn up that we're directing this individual to appear before the Board of Health on the next scheduled Board of Health meeting date to provide update information.
In order to appear for the board.
Yeah. Yep. And see where that goes.
All right,
with all his information in hand, who his engineer is and,
yeah, details
Right,
as to
yeah.
what's,
right.
Right.
okay. Agenda item number 3, part-time health agent vacancy update discussion. All right, I'll take this.
Good.
We appeared at the last Board of Selectmen meeting on July 5th.
Mhm.
We voted to appoint Colleen Straponi, our part-time health agent, based on Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 27. Giving us the authority to do so. We were doing it in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen's office because we thought that there was another component to the position and something changed in the background. So the Board of Selectmen rubber stamped our appointment.
Which was not necessary. So I'll state for the record, and I actually should have brought it up actually at the meeting. Because I don't honestly believe that the select board understands the authoritative position that the Board of Health in Mendon has.
And in every Massachusetts town.
Actually, but as I understand it, not necessarily. The reason, and I don't know if Jack could bring it up, the reason that we're afforded this authority in the town of Mendon is because there is no charter that exists with a contrary provision. Some towns have a charter that provides for the authority to go through the select board or select board of selectmen. The town of Mendon does not have such a charter. Therefore, that gives the local board of health the authority to hire and fire. And it's possible that the select board may not realize in this case that exists, or that's the structure in Mendon.
In my conversations with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Mike
Right.
Maroli, they're trying to understand that,
Yeah,
and they're trying to, I believe they had reached out to town council for further explanation.
sure.
Again, they're trying to work with us and we're trying to work with them.
Mhm.
But it was my understanding there was another component to this position, and it wasn't until the select board meeting
That was released.
that something changed in the background that
Well,
I was unaware of.
what was supposed to happen, which is why we were gonna do this at the select board meeting, was that the Board of Health would come to the select board meeting and we would do the appointing for the health agent component. And the select board, at the time, anyway, the thought was they were gonna use the same individual and appoint that individual to be the administrative person for X number of hours, I think 3 hours a week for conservation. We were informed that evening at the Board of Select Board meeting that had changed. So we weren't, it's kind of a last minute, notification, so we weren't aware of that. So granted, we did do our appointing from a Board of Health perspective for a health agent. And then following that, the select board did their appointing, or you want to call it rubber stamping. But it should have been made clear to the select board that there was actually no need for them to do that, because whether or not they did it had no bearing on the appointment. Because in this particular case, the select board has no appointing authority for this position like they have over other positions in town, which I respect. That's why they may not all fully understand that in this situation in Mendon, without a charter that says otherwise, the authority falls to the Board of Health exclusively. That's all. But it's great. I'm glad that they concurred and they're in agreement. That's always nice to have that.
No, absolutely.
to
The
it,
goal
but-
is to work together.
The appointing aspect of it it was a moot
Right.
point after we appointed. Because in addition, the expectation is that the salary element as well will be on the Board of Health's budget. As presented previously to the previous administrator, we were going to realign some monies that was not going to change the budget that was presented for the current fiscal year. And we were going to be able to support the funds to support the position without asking for more money. So that made it a nice little situation.
It's very possible that eventually the select board will get some feedback from town council.
Oh,
And we'll
absolutely.
have further discussion.
We could
if-
very well
if
have, we
necessary.
could very well, oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's my understanding that that feedback hadn't happened.
Right.
Right, and then
and then-
we can notify her, most tricky tick,
Right.
and tell her she's,
And I don't know if you're able to bring it up on that, your handbook, the page from the MAHB. Because that's specifically where the component came from. And the MAHB is the Mass Association of Health Boards,
right,
which is kind of like the legal group in Massachusetts that helps local boards of health with legal situations. So it was from that handbook
right,
that actually has the specific paragraph that includes the component of the element of a provision of a charter. So see if Jack can bring it up or not. And that
I-
kind of spells it all out.
I have it in my stuff here too.
I don't know if we ever actually got that in. Again, I'm very respectful of the authoritative elements here with the select board. I'm not, looking at this as any kind of a power struggle here.
Nope, understood.
It's just, I'm just trying to get clarification as to where authorities lie, and I think it's important for each of the boards throughout, not just us, to understand what the authorities are for each of the boards in the community, right? That way,
Well, it could expedite things. This took a long time.
Right, it should
Yes.
not have.
So
really
if,
taken that long.
if things are clarified and understood,
Right.
we probably could have expedited.
well, I think in this, we had some extra outside
Right.
conditions that existed. We had a little perfect storm situation.
Correct.
People exiting and people coming in, and so we might have still ended up in that same time frame delay. But you're right, potentially there could have been 2 or 3 weeks where the formal appointment could have been completed earlier by us. I got a feeling though, we still would have been waiting for the personnel's changeover.
It's very possible where some of the people we need to depend upon to do the onboarding.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So,
I can't get. can I
Oh, no worries.
drive?
yeah, no worries. But anyway, it's in that MAHB handbook, page 28 to be specific. That it spells it out right there. That has that inclusion in it, so long as there is no provision put forth in a charter. And we have confirmed through the town clerk was verified, there is no charter in Mendon. So in lieu of that, the local Board of Health has exclusive authority to hire and fire.
Any feedback from HR on the onboarding process?
I did speak with Jen, the new HR person, on Monday. She was very happy to know that we hired our part-time. And I believe Colleen came in yesterday to pick up her onboarding.
Excellent.
Awesome.
So the wheels are turning.
Yep,
Good.
yep.
And, we did a due diligence to try to make sure, in the absence of some of those administrative people in the background, to work with the Board of Selectmen and get all of that stuff done,
Oh, yeah.
which is time consuming. So, hopefully, we won't be in that situation again in the near future. It'll be not be a worry. And your feedback from HR is good, that the wheels are turning.
Yep.
Cool.
Anything else on that? Agenda item number 3?
Happy to see her.
Okay, just
Do we
making
have any
sure.
participants?
All right. So we will go to agenda item 4, rooster regulation discussion.
One of our
And
favorite
before we get
topics.
to that, can I ask you a question
Yes, ma'am.
about the select board person that's supposed to be, do we have one of those people like Lonnie was? Yeah,
Not to my knowledge, and I really meant to ask that question when we appeared at the Board of Selectmen.
right. Well, we did, I
Meeting.
think, didn't we? We sort of did.
We didn't ask at that meeting.
Not at that meeting, but we did ask, but they haven't decided on who it was gonna be. I
'Cause I thought we had before
kind of thought it was
before
gonna
we
be
got.
Jason Luda, says it was on our last meeting.
That I got that impression. But see, that is a very good service, and I enjoyed having Lonnie on our meetings
That was a huge help.
as a representative of the selectmen,
Right.
because
Absolutely.
if we were having discussions about what authority to follow or things like that.
Yep.
And a representative of the select board is attending our meeting, there's no reason for nobody
Right,
to not know what's going on.
Right.
I mean, that has definitely been an added service that has only benefited everybody, in
Mhm.
my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I could leave a couple
But
issues
I don't know-
offhand that having Lonnie or having representation from select board actually was able to answer questions
right.
that we didn't have as a BOH. For a couple of folks that actually were here in person on the
Right.
situation. That was huge. So,
Oh, yeah, Lonnie could bring the map right up.
yeah.
Oh, God, I know it.
That was
I
great.
know. We love that.
So hopefully, a representative will be selected soon and be attending our meeting, so that if we have any questions for the select board, we can ask them. And that person can report back to the select board as to things that they couldn't answer.
Yep. Yep.
So that relationship will be rekindled.
Right.
All right. What's up with rooster regulations?
You
Bob?
really want to know? I had a conversation with the resident last week, initially not on this topic, but it segued to this topic,
A resident.
a resident.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And apparently, although it hasn't officially been presented yet, there's an anticipation that something may come forth indicating a rooster issue in that same general neighborhood that we addressed previously. You want to cry? There's been conversations from this individual communicating with the neighbors about the topic of some issues they're experiencing with noise, what they deem to be excessive noise by a particular residence that's kind of around the corner from where this resident lives, but on that same stretch of road where the previous issue had been previously. I have a sense it's probably a residence that came before us in the course of handling that other issue that had gone away. And it may have come back. So the resident was going to kind of do a reach out to the individuals. There was a sense that maybe residents either didn't feel they had a mechanism or to come forth, or didn't feel that they felt comfortable coming forth.
Right.
But so basically what she inquired about the regulations. I said, well, we did pass them. I said, they are posted on our website. We passed them a couple of months ago, roughly, right? Something like that. So they are in place. So I said, if you want to, reach back out to these folks. And if there is an issue that you're experiencing, please let them know to tell us about it. The fact that we know that we can validate your existence as a resident with the complaint doesn't mean that we then have to then pass along to, if we have to approach an individual about a problem, who filed the complaint.
So
There's a level of
this is like-
confidentiality basically that we can keep. And because some people get a little concerned about if they know, oh, you're gonna tell this neighbor that it was me that's complaining about.
Why wouldn't that neighbor, in my world, why wouldn't that neighbor go to the person and say, you know, your rooster is really being very annoying, and I think that the town has some rules about this? Why
That's,
wouldn't that happen?
it's a good point. You're right.
Well, I have to agree. You know, and no one should feel intimidated
Right.
if their peace and quiet is, you know, being challenged.
It's just unfortunate in this world that we live in,
Mhm.
is that there is just an element, that neighborhood communication concept from, that might have existed back in the day. It doesn't exist like it once used to. In a lot of cases, I won't say everywhere. Some neighborhoods, people are able to figure
Right.
things out for themselves. Other times, people are afraid to. They get a little disconnected. They, for whatever reason, there's a feeling of discomfort. And I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of the news that we hear and the responses people give to situations. They don't want to feel that they're gonna, there'll be any sort of negativity thrusted upon them because they approach somebody. That's all.
Yeah, and, you know, I certainly want to assist this resident in any way that we can. And I mean, it's very fortunate that the enforcement section is spelt out
Yes.
as to what the steps are that can be taken. So,
So we're just, at this point, we're just waiting. And I did do a follow-up call with this resident on the initial topic, which we'll touch in the next
Do we
agenda
know-
item.
do we know where it is? Do we know?
No, we don't have the specific
It's not-
address yet.
It's not our other people.
It's not. No. I don't believe so. I believe it's,
A new person that has a chicken.
yes, residents that I believe had come to us or that we became aware of in the process of dealing with that other one,
Right.
but it went away because I think they got rid of the roosters for a while
Mhm.
and maybe they're back having them again. And so but again, until they come to us,
Right.
you know, there's not a lot we can really do,
right.
right? So
Oh, yeah, because we can't even investigate it, so to speak.
that's correct. Yeah.
See if there's a
Right.
noisy rooster that's
Yeah.
not following the good neighbor policy
Right.
at a particular address.
Right. So we just have to wait and see. I just wanted to make you folks aware
Okay.
that had raised its
Had me
Agree.
worried.
little ugly head again. But an additional element under the same topic, because I've been thinking about this for actually a couple of weeks. I wanted to present something to the board to potentially ponder for a change. I think you have in front of you the current residential rooster regulations that we approved. So I go to section 2, the purpose. In kind of relooking at the purpose of what residential rooster regulation was about. In my view, I believe that the reason that we created these rooster regulations to begin with was to address an issue that came out that initially we were addressing under the noise nuisance guideline that a Board of Health has to act under. But then eventually realized in the communications with our animal inspector, we should really have some sort of regulation to address those scenarios. So when I read the purpose, I thought, I didn't think that that necessarily clearly spelled out what the purpose of the regulation was. So I wanted to put forth a proposal to modify the statement of purpose. Okay, so as it reads now, it says this regulation is intended to set a standard for the housing and keeping of residential roosters. This is aside from the protection accorded to the town of Mendon's right to farm bylaw, MGL Chapter 40A, Section 3, and MGL Chapter 128, Section 1A. What I wanted to put forth was this for the purpose. This regulation is intended to set/apply a standard for the housing and keeping of residential roosters in the event of the Board of Health receiving a complaint or complaints related to noise issues coming from a rooster or roosters, which could then subject the property owner to Section 4 and Section 5 of this regulation. Then the last statement would still be the same. This is aside from the protection accorded by the town of Mendon's right to farm bylaw, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason for that was that, in my view anyway, I feel that that actually kind of gets to the crux of what the purpose of the regulation was about. Because this, in my view, this regulation wasn't created for everybody that has roosters to now change their standard of operation to follow this setup. As I feel, this regulation was to address issues that may come to us, typically would be noise related, whereby we then needed to start this process, which would start with the Ag Commission. And then of course, would then get into the requirement and then the enforcement pieces. But other than that, if anybody out there now has a rooster that we have no issues with and the neighbors have no issues with, I would not want anyone in the town or them to think you have to change the way you're doing it to follow this standard. That this was only intended for issues, noise issues, complaints. That was my thought.
Once again, well written. I mean, I understood what it meant by keeping of residential roosters, the word keeping.
Mhm.
But that definitely explains it. And you're right. And I guess I didn't think about it at the time. We're just trying to address the problem roosters,
Oh, yeah.
not the roosters that are behaving themselves, not the
That's
people
correct.
that have been
Right.
doing things for
For
years
100
and years and
years, yeah.
years and been a good neighbor.
Right.
Like I was saying to Jack earlier, I said, someone, it's hypothetical, for whatever reason, could have a problem with the neighbor who has a
Right.
rooster.
Right.
And then they want to they look at this and they said, you know what, geez, look at these regulations. And the issue they have with the neighbor may have nothing to do with the rooster, maybe something else. So you know what, geez, I see that these rooster regulations, it looks to me like my neighbor should be doing these things with the rooster. And you know what, my neighbor's not following these guidelines. So to me, the purpose in adding that little element speaks to specifically what we're looking to address with the regulation, as opposed to having people potentially think,
Problem.
I have to change the way I'm doing it, even if there's no
Right.
problem.
Right.
And the answer to me, that would be no, it's not,
Right.
it's not the
Right.
purpose.
I think as we were going through this process and we started out with a few pages
Yes.
and we kept stripping things out.
Yep.
To not overregulate or to be,
Yeah, over the top.
ordering people what to do
Correct, yeah.
that have roosters.
Yep, yep.
We probably, in this case, thin that particular section down too much.
Well, I think we came up with a great regulation format. I think it addresses what would be the issues should issues come to us. And I like the fact that the ag committee is going to be our front people
Right.
group that will take the lead. And then hopefully the issue would be corrected by then pointing these things out, how you need to correct the issue. I would just, from a general perspective, my thinking anyway was, well, let's clearly define that purpose in the section 2 purpose
That's fine. I think
of the
Yeah.
regulation. That was mine.
Now,
fine.
do we want to get the opinion of the ag committee?
Certainly
Right?
good.
Because I mean, they're a partner in this
Absolutely. Yep.
and
Oh, yeah.
if, they may,
Yep.
give us positive feedback. And,
Absolutely.
and,
Oh, yeah.
reinforce the fact that, we're on the right track without overreaching.
I'm all for that. I wasn't necessarily looking for a
Oh, yeah.
decision. But you're right. The ag committee is a partner and I would most definitely want to throw this to them
right.
as well too. They might say, you know what, hey, maybe this, how about this? Or they might say, you know what, maybe the purpose is fine. In which case that may be fine too. I just kind of threw it out as a,
No, I like
you know,
your approach and, like I said, just because I understand what keeping of residential roosters means.
yeah, we know in our
Right,
minds.
I understand it
intent is.
because I worked on this,
Because we worked on it.
right, with the ag committee and with
Yes,
my board of health members.
right,
So, but someone else might not understand
correct.
that phrase.
Right.
So that definitely clarifies it.
Yeah.
And again, it's sort of reassurance that if everything has been going fine for years and years and years, however you're doing things.
Keep on
then-
trucking.
Right.
Yep.
So, again, by adding that, we're not reaching any
Nope.
further.
Nope.
We're just defining it for someone who may not have been part of this process.
Yeah.
It's just further clarification.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
Me too.
So I think probably the thing to do would be to maybe reach out to the ag committee and then present what the board is considering as a revised statement of the purpose. You could put it to them in an email and give an opportunity for them to reflect on it and see what they come back with. And maybe in the interim between now and our next meeting, we'll have something that we can then maybe put on the next agenda. To
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
stamp and say, so if ag committee comes back and says, you know what, that's probably a little too much, or that's fine, maybe we say, okay, just a thought. They come back and say, no, a piece of that is pretty good. Maybe that's a good thing to do. And if that's the case, then maybe we support that and then maybe agree to make the adjustment in the purpose.
I'm all for it.
Play it by. Sound good?
Make sure you send it to me.
Huh?
Make sure you send it to me.
I will send it.
Well, no, I mean, to your point, we wouldn't want
Yeah.
anyone to misuse the regulation.
Yeah, yes, that's essentially, and I hadn't thought about that myself. You know, but
Because
in a perfect world,
I know, we talk to our neighbors.
it's right, in a perfect world, we'd be talking to our neighbors. In a perfect world, I said this to Jack earlier. If everything went well, we wouldn't need 50% of the
Sorry.
representation of groups that
Just
we
kidding.
have. Nor do we probably need 50% or more of the government that we have. Because a lot of that exists to help correct problems.
Right, and we were well aware when we put these together
Oh, yeah,
that they may need future
Yeah.
tweaking,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
because there's gonna
That
be
would I think
scenarios.
That's a good tweak.
Yeah, there's gonna be scenarios that we did not think about, we didn't
Right.
anticipate. It's impossible,
Absolutely.
you know, I mean, so I think, you know, again, once again, well written.
I'll send that to you and we'll send it off and
Yeah. See what we get for some feedback.
that's all I had on the rooster bakes. Unless any of you would like to add, add to that.
Just crossed myself twice, just in case you know.
Uh,
Very good. All right. Next item on the agenda, E.L. Harvey FY 24 contract update.
Still with legal.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so we received it from E.L. Harvey in the completed form.
No, it's still with their legal
It's
department.
with their legal department.
okay, that's better.
Yeah, we're still waiting on it.
Okay,
All
all
right.
right. Anything else
I-
on that topic?
All
Ye-
the tutors are going around, that's the huge amount of,
Yeah,
being
barrels,
delivered. And,
barrels are being delivered. And,
yeah,
yeah, I got mine.
yeah. you
You get
do.
yours, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get mine,
You
On
what?
the not
Yeah.
paid up list.
but I'm not worried.
Oh, you didn't get yours?
No,
Oh,
no, I, one day I saw a section had been delivered on that particular section of town's trash day. And then the next day in the afternoon, I saw the truck coming from the Westboro area down North Ave with a trailer with a full load of totes.
okay.
So I knew they were, wherever they left off, they were continuing.
Right.
Yeah.
Today, this afternoon, going up Blackstone Street, I saw that they had started, but they didn't get much past Emerson Street.
Okay, yep.
And then I was told that they got a little further down Blackstone Street, but maybe not the whole thing. And that's to be expected.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's a rather laborious task.
Right, because they have to make sure, because I saw that they delivered them to my front yard. In the front,
Oh, the front.
yeah, and they stopped, and then they went back, and then they looked, and then I saw them pointing to my recycling bin on the Washington Street side, and, you know, but they left them there, and then I just wheeled them to the barn.
Look at you.
I know,
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that Bill's gonna pick up your trash.
Yep.
Mhm.
Regardless of what container it's in
Yep.
right now. This rollout is gonna take
oh,
a
wow,
period of
Time.
time for
Yep.
everyone to, you know, adjust to.
yes,
And for the rollout to actually happen. You know, I mean, just because they gave us a July 10th date
right,
or you selected
Yeah.
as a best date, the July
Correct.
10th date, doesn't mean that everything was gonna happen on July 10th. It's just too big a task.
right,
No, an interesting thing that Jack had mentioned last week when we were talking about the program, at the time, I think we had, after the due date of the bills, we had 100 residences that had been on the program that had not yet submitted a bill or payment. So it's possible that, you know, he could hear, and Jack's aware of this, if people had gone away, forgot about the bill because it's summertime, come back and they don't have their barrels because Jack gave the list to E.L. Harvey based on the paid subscribers. So if there, you could theoretically get calls from people saying, hey, I didn't get my barrels, and first question Jack should probably, well, he'll probably check and validate if they paid the bill or not. It might have been a case where they just hadn't paid the bill. So we could see some of that, but I thought it was kind of shocking that there were that many that
Yeah,
had
that's
been on the
25%,
program.
right?
Yeah, how much percent?
Wouldn't that be 25% of what we were expecting? Were we expecting
Well, we have,
1,200?
1,800.
no, we have 1800.
Counts.
1,800?
Yeah, so it's like
Oh,
maybe
okay.
2%, 1%.
I'm not doing my math right.
But that was still, I thought, a large number that hadn't paid, that had been on the program.
Right.
And in my head, maybe I hadn't really followed that stat. Maybe that's normal. But it just seemed kind of large, but
Well, we
But
did,
It is dwindling.
we left quite a bit of time, right? Because we wanted everybody on board by what, the
The
16th,
16th of June.
right?
right.
Thinking that we were allotting enough time for, that transaction to take place before we,
Correct. But this is a case where even now come the end of the month, when people are used to getting the bill in last minute, yours truly. Because you have until the end of June, right, for the new program starts. Again, if they started on vacation after school let out for some reason, they're gone away. That bill could have come, it's sad, forgot about it. They're probably thinking, oh, I'm not at home, I'm in my summer place or I'm up north. I'll deal with it when I get home. I don't need trash service. Those situations, you'll probably maybe get some, probably crop up. I'd be curious to know though, of those 100, how many might just not be coming back on the program? But also, to the opposite argument of that, I think you were telling me that there are a lot of people that were doing the recycle only, that went on the trash program, jumped onto the trash program as new subscribers. So that was nice.
okay, so approximately how many paid subscribers do we have as of your last?
Well, with 120, roughly 120 that were not paid by that July 5th was my deadline to give ELRB the paid subscriber list.
Right.
I'd probably say it's probably down now to maybe 70, 65 people that still have not paid. So I've gained 30, 40 residents that didn't pay their bills and now up to date on their paid bills.
Okay, and have you notified E.L. Harvey?
Yes, what I do is, once their contractor dumps all the barrels, I give EL Harvey a list of all paid subscribers updated every day. They're gonna, EL Harvey themselves will drop off the barrels to those addresses. So it's gonna be.
So this rollout is gonna take a little while.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
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 You
They
know,
will
it's-
get their
it-
totals
it's-
once they're paid.
Right, it's not our normal renewal,
Exactly.
because
It's
it's a
not.
whole new contract.
Yep.
And it's a modified program
Yep.
that E.L. Harvey is adapting and our subscribers are all adapting to, so we're all, working in the same direction.
Right.
And we all need time to get it in place. So in the end, do you think we'll have an increase in subscribers over last year or about the same?
I'd probably say about the same,
Okay.
even with the ones that are coming on that only have the recycling and only. I've seen people that dropped off saying, I don't want the service anymore.
So flat out, they've told you.
Interesting to see what they.
So we
do
had
get.
we had like 400
Yes, one of them were not.
non-subscribers. Okay. And you think we're gonna end up at about the same
About the
point?
same, yeah.
Was there, out of curiosity, when you heard that, was there, and I don't know if I missed it, if Joyce just asked it, was there an extension question of, out of curiosity, what are you gonna do for your trash service?
They say if they break into their job, will they have a dumpster?
Specifically, yeah, so we knew there was a percentage of that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, in addition, under this topic, just to make you aware, we've had a problem in the last 2 or 3 weeks with the program. This came to my attention last week. Jack had reached out to me, a resident who, the same conversation of the rooster, initially reached out about a trash truck issue. Apparently, there had been a problem with the truck leaking glass from the bottom of the truck. It has apparently had been going on for 2 to 3 weeks.
Howard, one of Harvey's trucks,
It was Phil's truck.
was Phil's truck,
Yeah.
okay.
So what was happening was, this was reported, the resident lives on Daniels Road, and multiple residents had issues. What was happening was, apparently there was at least one hole, not more, in the bottom of the body of the truck. So there must have been some wear on the metals, over years, get corrosion and whatnot. And has explained to me what happens when they get the glass dumped in, you got the scoop that comes along the body. And over time, that glass is abrasive,
Yes.
crushing it down. And then maybe with other corrosive elements, at any rate, created an opening at the bottom where glass fragments were falling out of the bottom of the truck when he was picking up the glass and, you know, pulling the lever to crush it. It was brought to the attention, so in this conversation just last Wednesday, I became aware of it. So I had immediately texted Mike to say, hey, we have this problem reported by a resident, multiple residents down in Daniels. It appears that the truck may have a road, I phrase a roadworthiness problem where it's leaking glass on the bottom of the truck. And then asked him to kind of, check it out. He said he would, he said he was sorry, gave his apologies and checked it out. The next day happened to be my pickup day. Because of the holiday fell on a Tuesday, my normal pickup day is Wednesday. Phil picked me up on Thursday. So I happened to make a point of waiting for Phil to pick up my trash. So I went out and I saw Phil and I was talking to him a little bit about a couple of things. And then I brought up the issue about, hey, we got a complaint yesterday from a resident down on Daniels Road about glass coming out of the truck. And Phil said to me at that point, he goes, it's been fixed. Well, I said, oh, great. And I guess what had happened was, and I didn't realize this until more recently, the issue had existed previously and Phil had actually brought it to the attention, from what I understand, to the people internally. Unfortunately, the best answer that he could get was that it'll be scheduled to be fixed. He couldn't get them to tell them when. It was just, it's on the schedule. So apparently there was a continuation of using the truck. And it was letting glass out at the bottom. What had been happening was when some residents were not calling us or calling Yale Harvey, they were calling the highway department and complaining that glass was on the road. So John was sending crews out to sweep up the glass after the truck. And unfortunately, that involvement didn't become known to us until more recently. So already a couple of weeks had gone by, they were doing their thing. And then it became known that, hey, they were involved. So when Phil told me that it was fixed, I texted Mike back that morning and say, hey, I think we're all set. Phil says the truck's been fixed. And Mike confirmed, yes, it was fixed this morning, referring to last Thursday. So we thought it was all set. Then this week, yesterday or the day before, Jack got another complaint from another area of town, Blueberry Hill, Blueberry Lane up there. Same issue. Apparently, it was the same truck. Must have had more than just what one area that apparently was fixed wrong with the body. So the belief is that maybe what they saw was the problem. They may not have done an overall examination of the vehicle, and there must have been another area of the body that had a problem. So when I heard about that, Jack immediately reached out, communicated to Mike and to the folks over at Yale Harvey the issue. And then we did get a response back from a couple of the gentlemen over there that they were going to be looking into it. Or do you remember the response?
The response was, it was fixed Saturday.
That's right. He said it was fixed Saturday, which would have been 2 days after when I was told it was initially fixed. Because I was told it was fixed last Thursday by Mike. At least that's what Mike was told. So somewhere along the line, there was a misunderstanding of information internally as to when it was supposedly fixed. That, along with the fact that the resident I spoke to, and from what information she could tell me, the residents had not been getting any feedback response from Yale Harvey on their complaints. I took it upon myself to go to Yale Harvey today. So I actually went up there. I actually was able to catch Mike. I wasn't expecting Mike would be there. I was actually going to speak to somebody in their customer service or their operations management. So when I went into the building there, there's Mike coming out of the customer service area. I'm like, hey. So we sat and we talked, and I had texted him again after hearing about the Blueberry. I said, hey, I understand the truck's leaking glass again. Can you give me a status? So at that point, he hadn't responded back. He had taken the step to go and get it checked out. So we had the conversation when we were there. The truck was taken off the road. So now Phil is using another truck. So we feel at this point, the truck that was creating the problem should no longer be on the road until it's completely fixed. So in the process, I was able to meet a couple of individuals in the customer service group. And I was actually had met a gentleman there who's the new district general manager. Name is Glenn Long. Had a nice conversation with him as well, and reiterated, although I was there addressing a problem, I said, just want you to know that we've had a very good relationship with you folks, and we, it's been, we've had a very, it's been very positive. We understand problems arise. It's just, addressing the problems. I said that part of the concern here was the mix of information we were getting and the lack of response to our residents. But what Mike explained to me was because they get so many calls, unless specifically somebody looks to get or asks for a response call back, what will generally happen is they'll take the complaint and then they'll just process it through accordingly. They can't necessarily get back to every resident with an update because of the call flow. So I always said that makes sense. I understand that. So it might have been a case where residents' expectations were they were going to get a call back, but if they never really asked for one, I could see where they might just said, "Oh, thank you very much, and we'll process this through." So,
Well, I can see, especially with the size of the company,
oh yeah,
I actually witnessed a problem with one of Devaney's trucks. I happened to be behind it. So I dialed them up, said, hey, truck number, blah, 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 has an issue.
ah,
Now, I'd love to know if I prevented a problem,
yeah,
but I didn't ask for a response.
all right, okay,
I just said, this is what I'm seeing. Call your driver.
right,
So to your point,
yeah,
if you don't ask
Right.
for feedback, you may not get it. It doesn't mean that it didn't get taken care of.
right,
It just didn't flow in the other, you didn't get
Yeah.
you don't know whether.
Yep.
What the progress was.
So in talking with the manager of the customer service group, the scenario kind of presented to her a situation where, well, maybe I could see maybe we need to tweak maybe our
Response.
how we do things, yeah. Somehow being able to note if multiple people are calling in on a particular issue in a community on the same issue, that maybe we need to kind of track that better, and maybe it would behoove us to respond so that they have a sense of comfortability of the status of the issue. So it was a positive visit.
And they're on notice that you'll come visit them face to face.
And I did, well, and I did also, when the last discussion was with Mike and Glenn, I did also just mention that, I did bring up the contract that we are waiting. Because I wanted the district manager to hear it out of my mouth to his ear. So, and Mike did confirm what Jack said. It's in legal, it's in their legal. They're working on it. So, and I did say at some point, we would like to come out and tour your facility. He says, yeah, when do you want to do that? I said, well, I'll talk to my board members. We have a meeting tonight. So you folks are up for it. You included as well.
I'm a late fall guy.
Yeah, I understand with your
My
schedule.
schedule. So,
Oh, yeah, which is fine.
just after Thanksgiving time
Oh,
or
yeah.
just before, I could probably break away.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd love to see it and understand more about the process as to how everything works.
Yep.
Um,
And this gentleman that is the district general manager, he comes from Waste Connections. He was actually based in California. Now, Waste Connections, as you know, E.L. Harvey was purchased by a parent company. Waste Connections is the parent company. So even though they're using the E.L. Harvey name locally, it's Waste Connections so they're now a corporate. So he was relocated here. And actually, I guess he's from New England. He was here originally. He's traveled to different places for the company, been in Arizona and California for a while. So now they have him back here, kind of getting things, together, and they're dealing with some, some pains a little bit. But they're working through. So,
Yeah, even if customer service got a group of similar complaints from town.
Yep.
And even got back to us so that we could put it on our website as an alert. We've had a number of calls about the truck leaking glass. E.L. Harvey is aware of it. It's being addressed. Watch here for further updates.
Right.
That might save them having to get back to a number of people.
Right.
And it makes us aware.
Right.
So
I do have to respond to that one resident that did call me initially. It was funny, just the other day, I had called to tell her everything was all set. And then when I heard there was still a problem, I felt obligated. I better call her back to tell her, hey, just in case her network of information. I said, they just let you know, apparently we still have a problem. So we're working on it. And I actually told her I was visiting the site today and to have conversations.
So Phil's normal truck is out of service.
So
until it's
Phil's normal
repaired.
truck is out of service at the moment. He's in another truck. But at some point he may get that other truck back.
Well, yeah, because I don't think they have too many of those split bodies. That's why I was,
That could be. I didn't. think
that's
that.
why I was asking. That's kind of a peculiar situation and it fits us.
Right.
But it wouldn't fit a lot of other.
I think a lot of a lot of towns are doing it, because my grandson, works for them and he does the same thing. And
Oh, he's driving a split body? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know how.
he's been to Onset, he's been to, oh, God, up near Marlboro, Northborough, all around, because he was just learning all the different things, so. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I
they're
didn't know how
becoming-
many of those
Becoming more and more.
situations
more
they
and more,
had.
Thing, that's why
Yeah.
they want to do that.
Yeah, the bigger towns, I see one truck picking up trash and then I see another truck picking up recycling.
That's what Bellingham does. We have 2 trucks.
So that's my,
Hey, thank you very much for showing up in person.
Well, I think it warranted it.
It's a way to
Um,
get
I-
something done.
That's right.
Well, I just, I hated to hear, well, see, initially when this resident called Jack, it wasn't sufficient enough for her, for Jack to take the call. She said, I want to speak to a Board of Health member. So Jack ended up reaching out to me. Thank you very much.
Well, I know, like, if I want somebody to
Try.
lay down the hammer,
Well, either one, and Alan's busy, he's so busy during the daytime and,
thank you,
Joyce,
Susan knows your
I've
call,
seen-
you had a big day.
I've seen Joyce wield a hammer. She can wield a hammer. But, yeah, so she needed to she wanted to speak to somebody at the BOH level, so I responded, so, but, yeah. so. Yep,
All right. Next item on the agenda, Mendon landfill update.
Well, Atlas did give us back a updated version of after town council's updated version, so Karis does have
That to
Atlas's.
look, yeah,
Yeah, so for another look from town council,
so now.
so
we're
just waiting to hear
wait
back
for
from Karis.
Okay,
that. Okay.
right, and I did review that and saw the additions.
All
So this is in their hands.
Yep.
All right, that's good. All right, we already covered one topic not anticipated. Are there any other topics not anticipated?
Open space recreation plan?
oh, yeah. I don't know
Oh.
if you folks saw that email
I did not.
that Jack sent us.
I'm terrible with my emails.
Just
When did it come?
bring that up.
Just gonna bring it up right now.
Oh,
I bring it up on my laptop anyway,
Open space.
not on the meeting.
Open space recreation plan? Sent
Yeah.
By Ann Mazon?
Ah, okay.
Something that Jack forwarded to us. It came from Ann Mazar.
Yeah.
And he sent it to us Friday. And I'll read for you what, why Ann sent it to us. Come on. Okay. So what it was following, this is from Ann. Hello all, attached is the final draft of Mendon's 2023 to 2030 Open Space and Recreation Plan. Mendon's previous plan had expired. It has been submitted to the state for approval. The OSRP is a document that is required for many state grants, and it includes a lot of information about Mendon that you could use for reference. Please let Dan Byer and me know if you have any questions, comments, edits, etc. Once approved by the state, we will put a copy on the town website, at the library, and at the town clerk's office. We have received the required letters from the Select Board, Planning Board, and CMRPC. But if any other committee / board / commission would like to submit a letter of support, it would be appreciated. The BOH, ZBA, Concom, and Parks are the groups referenced in the state OSRP guide. If you write a letter, please put it on your town letterhead and address it to Ms. Cryan and email the letter to Dan Byer and me. Then we will add it to the OSRP. You can see the other letters at the end of the OSRP for reference. Thank you, Ann Mazar. Well, I just wanted to bring it up. I didn't know if the board would have any consideration for wanting to create a letter of support of some kind or let it ride.
I mean, I think that would be something that we could do easily. It's not,
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a nice,
Yeah, and that came out Friday?
this is an email that came originally on to us on Friday.
Okay.
Uh, Friday at, I'm sorry, Thursday at 11:25 a.m. I stand corrected.
Thursday, 11:25.
It's not just a Board of Health meeting, it's a show.
Okay, so, I will definitely review that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but, depending upon what we all see when we review it. Have
Yeah.
you reviewed it?
I haven't, I just
Okay.
just seen this and,
So we all need to get up to speed
yeah,
on that.
Yep. I mean, Ann's always been great. We worked with Ann before.
Oh,
on
absolutely.
Previous issues and very supportive of, what she tries to
Do
do.
we have a time limit or is it something? we-
It's actually, she doesn't. I mean, we could certainly reach out to Ann and just say, hey, Ann, out of curiosity, we became aware of your email. Is there a time frame for us if we're looking to put forth a letter of support where you would need a response?
Right, because I'm just saying, we all need to review it, which won't take long. but
Correct.
We're not going to have a meeting for 2 weeks.
Correct. Yeah,
So I wouldn't want to hold her up.
that we,
That's
could-
correct.
we could agree that we could do that. I
Yeah.
think That's true, yeah.
yeah. I mean, would you want to shoot an email to Ann? Just say, hey, Ann, just following up, talked about this last night at our meeting. Just curious, the board is entertaining a possibility of a support letter. Is there a time frame where you need to have this by? Just to get it. Yeah.
All right, and depending upon her response, put it on the agenda for our next meeting.
Yeah, and maybe in the interim, we can formulate some thoughts if
Yes.
that's the way we want to go.
And as I review it, I'll,
Yeah.
make notes and,
Yep.
If necessary, there may be really nothing to comment on.
This
other
is
than
true.
To support the document.
That's true. Right,
Right,
correct,
which I would say that's,
right.
All right, anything else?
That is it.
I would like to, in the near future, I know we're working on well regulations. We need to get those finished up.
It's just a matter of Tom Ryder finishing them up.
Right.
Everything's done.
So, but that's something we're working on that we need to complete. Is there anything else that we're working on that we need to complete? At Monk Lake?
The Lake Nipmuc Task Force
But nobody's doing anything. I mean, they call me to go and look at stuff, you know, people at the beach and they're all upset and, but, I mean, I'm not in charge of it.
So I
I
think we're,
mean, the select board is,
well, so once the select board is formally appointed, has formally created the task force
right,
with all the members that were listed. The only exception at the moment is who is the representative from the select board
right,
that is gonna sit on that task force. However, I would think in the interim, because it's been created at this point, I can't see a reason. But herein lies the question, who wants to, at the moment, spearhead to try to generate that first meeting of the task force?
right.
And then in the interim, maybe we could put out a communication to the select board and say, hey, you know, we'd really like to get this task force on,
Right.
run, hit the ground running. We're gonna start to initiate a meeting, first meeting, and it would have to be a case where, because this is an appointed committee by the,
Has to be here,
well, it has to be somewhere where it can be recorded.
right,
So that would either be here, the police station, the
Right.
library,
right.
or the fourth venue that actually it could be the conference room downstairs. I don't know if it's ready yet.
Looks
That could
like
be-
it is.
That could be another,
Not for equipment, yeah, I don't think, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, for that.
it's pretty spiffy
it
looking.
is, but it'd be,
Jeez.
But I would have be of the viewpoint that if you could be reaching out, start to get the conversations going. See if you can get someone else to say, yeah, okay, let's get this going. Let's set up a meeting date. And at that point, I think what would be your first course of action is probably gonna need to create the structure. For example, is it gonna be chaired by one, or will be a co-chair, gonna share responsibility? Who's gonna take the minutes, because the minutes are gonna have to be recorded,
Well,
that sort of thing.
right, I get it, you know,
Basic,
Yeah.
laundry stuff,
Right.
housekeeping items.
right.
And then you could go into an initial discussion. That's just my thought.
Right. Okay, so that's ongoing.
Right.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
All right. Anything,
I thought that they were going to invite me to their,
The association meeting.
But I didn't get anything about that. I
Well,
mean, I ended up, because I volunteer at the senior center, I do the Panera Bread delivery one day a month.
Okay,
And then Wayne Phipps was there and he was telling me all these things that were happening and that, they were building a house down on Taft Avenue. They were doing all this stuff. They were digging into the pond. But I mean, that's not my place. That's not my place to be. I did look and see what they were doing and I saw that they were. But the Conservation Commission, where are they? I don't
So I-
know. It's not my job.
I
Well-
initially looked at that myself too. Wayne sent me an email. So I went down there,
Yeah,
and at the time I was there, I did not see any activity by that machine.
backhoe,
It was in the backyard,
right.
but I know they had used the backhoe to clear out the front. And at the time, the backhoe was stationary. It was not in operation,
Well,
so.
I can tell you what they did. They created out on the water, a thing with the sand and they were in the water. They had to be in the water.
So I-
No way.
I said to
Backhoe.
Wayne, I told him, I says, there's no, we did check, Jack checked the property. There have been no permits, at least at the time, that have been pulled
Oh.
for any activity. So, but I said, if anything, there's nothing at the BOH level that is
Right, that's
happening.
conservation.
I said,
What the hell are they-
conservation.
What the hell are they doing? I mean,
Right.
I went down there because he told me about it and
Right.
I drove down and when I got there, I saw what they had done.
Right.
And that there is no way that they should have been able to do that.
So,
but
so,
you're right. I mean, that's not
That's not my
our
thing.
jurisdiction.
No,
So we would be overstepping.
right,
well, we'd be overstepping as BOH. We would not be overstepping as Lake Nipmuc Task Force and or Lake Nipmuc Association. So my thought would be, after hearing that, if you actually saw activity,
I
that should,
didn't see the activity. I saw the
well,
result.
the result. So given
Right.
that, my view would be there should be a communication that it should immediately be going to the Concom and getting their attention. What the heck is going on at this property? It appears as though they may be doing things that are in violation because you have a buffer zone of work that's supposed to exist coming from that body of water.
It was in the water. They had to have been in the water to create this.
To do what they did.
There is no way that they didn't work in the water. With what they created there, a nice little area with a stone wall thing, some like a cement thing around.
Okay.
And a nice little picnic table on it. And
So I'd be,
To your point, I think you're absolutely right. Between
think
the
it's a
task
joint-
force and
yeah.
the Lake
Right,
Nipmuc
yeah.
Association,
Cause I just went,
it has to come from their
yeah, no, I
direction.
understand, yeah.
I mean, I went yesterday
Right.
because, you know, he was telling me that on last Wednesday and everything between my husband's
Yes,
death
understood.
and everything.
Yes,
I was
yeah.
like trying to get all the balls in the air.
Oh, yeah.
So then I went down there and I saw, holy mackerel.
Right. See, I got into it a week ago when there'd been nothing going on. Only the front yard, it appeared had been, they cleared away all the brush. The car was still there. That's in the front of the building.
What color car?
So you said yellow Mustang type, that's that property?
Yep, I know the property you're talking about.
That's the property.
Yeah.
And now is it true?
I'm talking about the old Taft Ave one,
This is on
That's a-
Taft Ave.
the old Taft.
That's a
Ave.
different street.
That's
Oh, old
different.
Taft.
Yes.
Oh,
I
sorry.
saw the other one that they told me too was that one. Looks like they're doing something down there. The house is looks like a falling apart.
That's the one just to the right of the beach.
Yeah, gentleman.
Correct.
from
Oh, I'm
Franklin
sorry.
owned it,
Right.
and We
That's the one I
responded
thought
to
you were
that
talking
house.
This
Oh, this
was
is one on
this
Old
was
Taft.
on Old Taft Avenue where they were doing over this whole house and stuff.
Oh, my apologies. Okay.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
Take
okay.
a ride down there. You'll see what I'm talking about.
So I
They
guess,
Definitely, and they told me there was a bulldozer in the yard but Wayne told me that. But he told me that it was already there. When I brought the mayor thing, which was on a Wednesday.
right,
And so I didn't get a chance to go down and look at it
right.
right then, you know.
Or do you know if Wayne has even called Concom about this?
I believe he did.
So I'd be curious if you know the address for Jack to look up in the records, the way he did for the Taft Ave address, just to see if any permits have been pulled for that property.
I don't know the address
Okay.
actually, but I can go down and look again.
That would just be, just out of
Right there.
curiosity.
It's like next to the, not too far away from the, you know, the
Yacht club?
Rupee place that the guys go to.
The yacht
Oh,
club.
the yacht club.
Yacht club, that's yeah, that one.
Call
That-
Bobby. Bobby will know what's going
It's
on
right
down
next
there.
door.
Bobby would
It's like-
absolutely know what's
It's
going
like 2 houses from that, I think, or,
Okay.
you know, something like that.
All right, so we determined that that's not a Board of Health thing
No,
No,
we can help them with,
No.
but that's a
thing,
task force
it's definitely a task force
and,
item.
Right.
a Lake Association. So, from that standpoint, maybe a letter
yeah,
to Concom and to the Board of Selectmen. I'd CC the Board of Selectmen at the same time. So they
Yeah.
know
oh,
that you're
be
reaching out.
interesting to be,
to
well,
Concom?
it'd be interesting to know who owns it and what they're doing
Right.
and who was doing the work there.
Well, if you happen to get the number, I'd be
I
curious
can-
to see
I can go back tomorrow.
if you could
Look.
see if they,
What I
Any
couldn't do
permits
was I
were
couldn't
pulled for
get
the
by
property
because
for any
Grant
work?
was doing a pumping of a septic system at the same time that I was gonna try to go down and go through.
Right.
Cause I came down from Taft Avenue that way,
Yeah.
rather than coming from Uxbridge Road and going, cause if I went from Uxbridge Road, I couldn't have seen it, but
right.
we did see it that way, but then I had to back up, so, yeah,
So the same concern on that
right.
property I was thinking of was the one next to the beach.
I know that one too.
Where
I
they're
was
doing
like,
some work, they have a
what the-
backhoe that was sitting in the yard, it hadn't been I didn't see any indication of any work in the back, but there was concern raised.
I didn't see the backhoe there when I went by it.
Right.
It was, but it looked like there was some work that was being done there, a substantial amount of,
Yeah, they cleared the brush in the front.
yeah.
They flattened it all out. There was only the car in front. That's
Now
still,
the yellow
was
car.
still there.
yeah, it was there when I went by.
Did you, yeah, did you know the story on that property a few
No.
years ago?
No,
Should I tell the story?
Not right now.
Not right.
another day.
We'll see.
Yeah, because I have the fishman, you remember, that's coming at
Oh,
6.
that's right.
So
So I have to be up at 5:30 and dressed and ready to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's right.
in the future, I would like to get on the agenda for the finance committee. And I would like to talk about our accounts, like our revolving accounts and monies that come to the Board of Health that end up in the general fund
Mhm.
that belong to the subscribers. So I would like to have a discussion with them on either, what their
Yeah,
take
what the
is
heck is
on
happening
how
here?
this
Right,
money should
right.
be
Right,
handled. So that in the future, if it's money that is subscriber money, it can be retained in
Right.
whatever account is appropriate. So that we can try to lower or control the rise of the cost of the trash program.
right. Yep,
Because if we have to get
makes good.
to town meeting and get revolving accounts approved, we need to put stuff in motion now so that we don't miss that deadline.
Good. Uh,
And then from the finance committee, from there, whatever the next step would be, whether it's going to a select board meeting and bringing it to their attention, so that we can make sure that we get it on a warrant.
Right,
And if for some reason we can't get it on the warrant and we have to do a citizen's petition, so we need to allot time.
right. Yep. good
So I don't
thinking.
want it to go too long, but that's a project that I think we need to work on so that we can, I mean, they're in conversation with the finance committee, there may either be some renaming or realigning of some of the accounts that we already have to better represent what those monies are. So I'd like their take on it. So that's something I'd like to work on in the future. That's why I was trying to, rehash with you guys what we have that isn't complete
Right.
before we start something else. But again, I don't want to lose any time
Right.
because it could take months to get that all together and I don't want to miss the next town warrant.
Right. No, agreed. Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to have it on our agenda and talk amongst ourselves first and then get on the agenda with the finance committee to talk to them.
Right,
Whatever you guys think.
Well, my thought would be, I think we should probably have an initial plan of action
right.
presentation from us. So that as we go to them,
So we know what, we sound like we know what we're doing.
we're all on the same page for the most
Right,
part.
That's fine.
Yeah,
And what the plan would be to how we're gonna
Right.
present it to them.
right.
Right.
It might even take us more than one meeting.
Oh, quite possibly.
So
Yeah.
like I said, I want to get I'd like to get the wheels turning on that.
Yeah.
Because there's an end date that we have to meet. When's town meetings normally in May?
Yeah.
Right, so warrants like March or April.
Sometime by March, something, they usually look for any board to
So,
give them if they have any desires for something on a warrant.
yeah, I would say right now we have ample time.
Right, but it
But-
goes by fast.
Right. But we know there's an end game and there are different people we need to talk with along the way to make sure that we get that all in play the right way. I know at one point when we first were talking about this a few years back, there was question as to whether we needed an enterprise account or whether we needed a revolving account, and we got that clarified.
That cleared
But
up.
that was a process
Right,
in itself, so I know that it's a time consuming thing. So, maybe we could start a brief discussion about it on our next meeting
Sure.
and then build on that. But keeping in mind that, you know, maybe March 1st of 2024, we need to know where we're going
Oh, yeah.
so that we don't miss that town warrant.
Right.
And
Thank
so
you.
that we, you know, protect subscriber money. And we don't burden the town on taxpayer dollars either.
Right.
And I guess maybe from initial conversations and as we converse with the finance committee, that could lead to potentially wanting to have be on a select board meeting agenda at some point. And putting it before them as well. for
Oh,
consideration-
absolutely.
For consideration as well, so that's just something that will,
Right. I mean, right now, we could, you know, even include the town administrator, even though the town administrator is filling the position temporarily.
Yeah.
right,
I'm sure the gentleman is very knowledgeable and could possibly share some of his experiences in other positions, other towns, you know, with us.
Right.
So it could actually be a source of information, but I figured just in my thinking about this, after we sort of get our approach, finance committee is probably where to start.
Right.
And it was the finance committee that we were having a conversation with years ago that kind of said to us, hey, you should have a revolving account for engineering fees.
Right.
And that kind of got the wheels turning as to what the possibilities were that we could do. So that was something that I've been thinking about. Other than that, unless anybody else has anything else, we can set the next meeting.
good.
So next meeting would be July 26th.
So I'm on vacation then, but
Oh,
can
are
I
we?
do that virtually?
Did HR approve that?
I think so.
I believe I'm gonna take a vacation that week.
I'd say week two. All right, so
So I mean, I have no problem calling in remote. No, really. I don't,
we do it remote.
Oh, absolutely, we could do it.
yeah,
If
I
you
don't,
both
I
want to,
don't have
mean,
a problem.
I could do it
Don't
from
feel
I don't
obligated,
normally-
don't feel
Okay.
obligated.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so
Where are
let's-
you?
The Cape.
No,
Where are you? At the Cape? Where?
I think we should have our meeting in the Cape then.
I'm in Falmouth.
It's an idea.
Oh, I'm down in Dennis.
All right.
On-
Because the
on-
Falmouth Road Race is on Sunday,
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
so we're staying the week.
Nice.
So I think that includes the 26th.
yes, it does. I'm at Bayview Beach. So you can come to the beach if you want to sometime.
I can see the ocean.
Oh, from where you are?
I can.
Oh, okay.
All right, so next meeting will be the 26th.
Remote.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm in August. Don't mind me.
I was thinking to myself, I thought they did that
Don't
race
mind me.
later in August.
Oh,
Hey,
I'm July.
I must be
still in
excited
July.
about
July?
my
I'm
vacation.
definitely July.
I can't blame you.
Don't worry about me. I'm in August.
I'm
What am I-
July.
What am I
I
thinking?
definitely am July.
What am I thinking?
Well, you're ahead of your game.
I really need a vacation.
I can believe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
7:30.
7:30.
All right.
I want to get that to you. That's
Awesome.
good.
Motion,
Motion,
second.
Karen?
motion, you motioned?
Yeah.
A second.
Okay.
Thank you
We're
all very much.
Thank you.
Good meeting.
I can't believe that I don't know when I'm